Hello and welcome to another episode of Season 2 of Gupshup with Gayatri, Old World Conversations with New Age Technology. I'm Gayatri Srivastava, and this is Gupshup with Gayatri. Before we start, I'd like to wish each and every one of you a very happy Independence Day. May our country grow and prosper, and may the bonds of brotherhood and harmony strengthen with each passing day. As many of you know, Gupshup is a series of light and casual conversations on topical issues with women of substance. But light does not mean it's frivolous. Casual does not make it flippant. Gupshup is not gossip. Gupshup is in fact an intimate chat in the company of family and friends in the age of social distancing and lockdowns. Gupshup is not designed as a high voltage toxic debate aimed at getting you angry and agitated. Rather, it's an endeavor to ignite meaningful conversations so that one has the time and leisure to ponder, reflect, learn, unlearn, and comment on issues around us. Does that mean that no uncomfortable questions will be asked? They will, but not in the India wants to know, Bharat puchta hai kind of way. Gupshup is extremely broad in its scope. Previous topics have ranged from economics and financial planning to films, food, feng shui, beauty, cancer care. Previous guests have included not just authors and journalists and activists, but also a professional classical singer, a managing director, a CEO. But what makes Gupshup truly unique is the interactive nature of the conversation and the quality of the audience. The predominantly female audience of Gupshup is well-educated, intelligent, and discerning. These women are the opinion makers and the thought leaders of today's India. So thank you, dear audience members, for signing in. Now sit back and enjoy Gupshup with Gayatri, Old World Conversations with New Age Technology. Let me now introduce our guest for the evening. Our guest today is someone who's quietly worked her way into becoming one of Bollywood's most powerful young women. Admin, I'd like you to spotlight our guest for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Gayatri.
Yeah. Someone, as I was mentioning, our guest today is someone who's quietly worked her way to becoming one of Bollywood's most powerful young women. She's an award-winning independent film director. Her first independent project, Jaan Jigar, won the award for the best short film at the Mumbai Film Festival in 2018. She now has 17 films under her belt, including blockbusters like Queen, Super 30, Urta Punjab, Mardani 2. She has even produced a film on India's first female animated superhero, Priya. While she carries a famous surname, she doesn't belong to a filmy family. Tanvi, Gandhi, welcome to Gupshup with Gayatri. Such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Gayatri. Thank you. And thank you for taking time out on Sunday, on Independence Day for this. Thank you. And thanks for the consideration.
Thank you for joining. And I know you've been working really long hours and you've been extremely busy. So, and I know also what's
always. For Gupshup, I think we all have time.
Thank you. So Tanvi, I was most fascinated about your India's first animated female superhero, Priya. So Priya has joined a universe of female superheroes, a global universe called Supreme Sheroes. Can you tell us more about Priya and whom she is in this galaxy with?
So actually, the thing is, Priya is yet to be honest with you, that's our aim. Our aim is to take her where she really truly belongs, part of the galaxy of all these wonderful super women. She is, the journey really began with her being actually a comic, comic star,
Comic.
really. Yes, comic hero, where the creator actually thought of her as in 2014, was it?
14.
14, yeah, when part of the Nirbhaya case. So she's inspired by that incident where she is a survivor of brutal rape and sexual abuse. And then he came up with a total of 3 different comics on sex trafficking, on sexual abuse, and acid attack. And I felt that what she stands for when she speaks about courage and this whole thing about our superheroes are not about superpowers, but they can be internal. Superpower is all about having the courage to speak up, to communicate, to have a dialogue, and that is her superpower actually. And so last year we came up with Priya's Mask, which is really a 2-minute public service animation where she spoke about COVID and keeping the mask on, and the love for healthcare workers. And I think all that, and talking to young kids, I think that was very, very important to reach out to. The world was going through something absolutely unprecedented and confused in so many ways that there was no communication towards kids or any kind of awareness, to be honest. So I think we're very, very excited because somewhere along the way, this comic book got elevated to, even though it was a 2-minute animation, but it went to stage 2. From stage 1 of being on paper, it became animation. And now we're working towards other causes, other different kinds of topics that are important to be spoken to towards young kids, young adults. So there is climate change, there is pornography, there is other stuff that she will be speaking about and speaking to young people, either through comic or through 2-minute animation, or eventually, which is our larger goal, to take her absolutely global and to take her on a long form animation, or live action, wherever she goes, really.
Wow, yeah. And this project was funded by the US Embassy in New Delhi.
Yes.
Priya's Mask.
Yes, it was. They do have these grants where they reach out, and so we Ram, who's also the creator, who's also we're a part of a team together, really, applied for the grant. And I think just to be able to get an opportunity to speak about such things, I think itself is great. And I felt that sitting in our homes last year, not knowing when we will come on set, when will we actually be physically around each other, we were able to create something so wonderful. And we had such a great support from our actors, me and my team, my fellow producers, my fellow teammates, we all reached out to actors, and they just jumped onto the bandwagon, Gayatri. I think it was just the most incredible thing. With the Vidya Balan, I called up Runal Thakur, who was Priya. I called up Kabir Khan and I said, listen, I if you don't mind, I would like your daughter to voice the little girl Meena, because I don't know, I think she would be great. And he's like, okay, I don't have a problem. We'll ask her if she wants to do it. And I sent the PPT across, and that little girl was like, I want to do this. So all of us sitting in our different homes, voicing through Zoom. And I thought, this is incredible. Like, nothing can stop us from making things. Technology is, as much as we are homebound, if there's a drive and an intent, we can do anything, really. And we ended up doing that, and it got picked up by global media, and it became a really big thing actually last year.
Yeah, absolutely. The Washington Post said she's the brown girl superhero the world needs.
Exactly.
And I praise indeed.
And you know what? That's the thing. We feel that the world is so ready for brown, for people of different skin tones. In fact, just yesterday, I was reading a CNN article which said that it's gone up to 40% of colored Americans versus last 10 years, which is huge, which is absolutely huge. The fact that 40% of America now is, which goes to show that we have to push stories and narratives that have brown people or people of different colors as central characters, and not just any kind of peripheral character, but central characters, central stories. And that's the main endeavor through Priya, through all the other stuff that I'm planning to do as well. And I am doing, because I think we're all ready to go global. We already are in a world that's super connected now, and we could be working out of anywhere. And I think it's important to push our skin tone ahead.
Yeah, you must.
Yes.
You must. And all the best to Priya.
Thank you.
Moving on to the other project that also you've been working on, which recently released, when you're talking of a cross-country collaboration, cross-continent collaboration.
Yes.
You recently produced 3 short films.
Yes. So,
which were filmed in the lockdown of 2020-21.
Absolutely.
And are now available on Voot, the OTT platform Voot. How was it? What are the challenges of filming in the lockdown?
I think last year, as we all have experienced, we had no idea what to process, what was going on between handling household chores and the limited time that we had to make ourselves feel a little productive. I think there was only that much time, right, between handling a home. And I just, felt that this is a very unique time, and it also needs to be documented at some point. Like the fact that we're sitting at home, the fact that the world, it's never happened before that the world has gone through the same exact emotion, real time across. Even the world wars were restricted to certain sections of the world. But this was a global impact completely, and a global attack in that sense. So I think 2 things happened. One was that there was a deep urge to try and see how one can document this phase. And the second part was, I think because we were home, there were always, somewhere along the way, the mind was always constantly working to figure out what to do. We can't just sit at home and not do anything. And I was very fortunate to have clicked with an old friend and associate of mine, a colleague and a friend, Rani Ray, who we, one fine day started chatting, and she sent me some stuff, and we would, these things, it's always about communication. This is another thing I've realized. If the intent is there and the communication is, and people are on the same page, you can do anything. And literally one thing led to the other. And the first film was called A Short Hello, which we shot in Delhi remotely. Dipanita Sharma has acted in that, and spoke to her very openly. She opened her home. And quite honestly, Gayatri, we had 3 people shoot that film. Literally 1 DOP, director of photography, 1 associate, and Dipanita on field in her home. Very grateful for her family to have allowed right in the middle of peak town people come in and shoot. And Indrani and myself were in Bombay on Zoom like this through the day, 1 day shoot. But it's a beautiful story. And I think what came out of it was very cinematic and gorgeous. And we felt that we did not compromise on stories. The second one was with Natasha Rastogi and Adil Hussain. Again, a beautiful story of a slightly older couple. Spoke to Natasha, who has a beautiful, gorgeous house in Delhi. And I think that was our main modus operandi. Let's go to actors who have great homes, because there's no chance I'm getting a location now. So if they're open to us coming in. And that's exactly what happened. She says, what, I like this trip, let's do this. And spoke to Adil, who, by the way, Gayatri, these have been amazing ways in which all these people have come on board. We literally cold call, cold email, expressing who I am, my background, my partner Indrani's background, this is what we do, this is what we want to make, on board, like no questions asked, on board. Wow. And he was there shooting 2 days with us in Delhi as well. And then
that's the 2 days of shoot, and the movie was built.
It was done. And 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 the third one was also very interesting. That fortunately for us was on shoot. We decided we can't do any more virtual, we want to be on set, and that was earlier into 2021, peak lockdown again, with Shekhar, who with Vishal Shekhar fame.
Vishal Shekhar.
Yes. And he had actually done Neerja, and he felt so perfect for the role. Reached out to him. He said, I've never acted before. We said, but we think you can. He said, okay, let's do this. And Shibani Dandekar as well. We were very, very convinced in our choice of having those two perform the part. And they were fabulous. And all credit goes to, my wonderful friend Indrani, who was able to get great performances out. And I think as a team, we were able to achieve, it was a personal, achievement to be able to create content when the world was shut down and document stuff, the period that we are living in, to be honest with you. And they've been picked up and are showcasing, which is also great. So happy.
Yeah.
Just happy.
Absolutely. So the third film with Shibani and Shekhar is called Dinner in Lockdown.
Yes. It's called Dinner in Lockdown. The second one is called Tea and a Rose. They're all available on Voot Select. And so you must, I hope people are able to watch it and tell me what they thought. It'll be great to hear, good, bad, or ugly. But we're very, very proud to be able to have created something when it seemed like nothing was possible to be done. But I felt after this experience, to be honest, Gayatri, I feel anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Yeah.
And also I'll tell you what was also for me was very gratifying that these short films, normally are not commercial properties. They're just made for the fun, to showcase talent, for support of each other. Short films are not really out there for anybody to make pots and pots of money, because that's not the model for short films. But the fact that they got picked up while they were being edited and while we were, still putting together things, while they were shot earlier, we were packaging them. What was itself such a blessing, because my fourth film that came out on Voot Select as well, called Jaan Jigar, actually was ready way back in 2018 actually. But didn't find the right platform. And now, right time, right opportunity, even that got an opportunity to be showcased. And I think till a film doesn't go through release, Gayatri, they hold no value. There's no point. You make them, but they need to be shown eventually. So yeah, I think I'm just happy that they did get shown.
Till it gets to the audience, you don't feel like the baby's been finally delivered in a way.
Yeah. The release is everything. You need to have your films shown. Whatever happens of the fate, to be honest with you, it's not about what happened. It still needs to go out there. Visibility.
So I watched two of your films, and I thought they were aesthetically very extremely beautifully shot. The as you're saying, the homes were gorgeous and they were a delight to look.
Yes.
Look at, and the black and how it starts in black and white, and
that
color.
Absolutely.
Realization dawns in a way without giving away the plot.
Absolutely. And I think that was a very, very definite thing that Indrani wanted, that eventually when the women feel empowered, there's color in their lives. And I think that was a bold move, because to compete with black and white and other highly dynamic colors around, I think glad we stuck to it. Because they've got a classic vibe to them, the films. Also, the storytelling has a certain, the reviews have been great vis-a-vis the films. I think they've been noticed for that reason, the fact that they've been different from everything else that's out there.
And I also noticed the reference to Gabriel Garcia Marquez, 100 Years of Solitude, Love at the Time of Cholera. Was that a tribute to your English honors days at LSR?
I supported it full on, but I should not be taking, and I cannot take credit for it, to be honest, because that is entirely Indrani. As a producer, for me, what I'm supposed to, that's what I believe personally, that I need to have 100% faith and trust in what I want to make and in the director, in the writer and director. So once I read it, I was convinced of how the story will be told. I let her be. I have to provide, as a producer, the most conducive environment for my director to come out with the best version of what he or she is going out there to say. So there was no major interference. Wherever I was required to, I would. Wherever I felt I should say something, I did. But I wanted to make sure that I'm able to provide her every single thing that is needed for her to say the best story, you know. And that's my job as a producer, to be honest with you.
Which brings me to my next question, Tanvi. You are an independent film producer. You're very, you're not the typical image one has of a producer. Neither are you a big. I mean, yeah. I mean, initially, I think in the 80s and 90s, the image of a producer was Mr. Moneybagged and usually a guy.
Yes, of course. That has been a journey.
Lots and lots of that. Spare cash and someone, investing lots of money. And you are also a producer, and you're absolutely very different from the normal image one has, the stereotypical image one has. And neither are you a big corporation. Otherwise, you have the big Dharma production and the Yash Raj Films. So how did you get into production, and how did you finally, what's the journey been about becoming an independent film producer? Should we start with your NDTV days?
Yeah, I think we could rewind. Because I think it's interesting the journey is yet to start as an independent producer, to be honest with you, but I'm glad that the short films have come out, which sort of is a small stamp on the fact that, yes, I can produce absolutely independently without the support of external funds or any other organization, which I feel is it's empowering for me, for myself, to be able to feel, okay, I could do something else next, you know. But the journey actually did begin from NDTV when I was right after LSR. I joined in 2000, and they were the most fascinating years, to be honest, Gayatri. I remember cutting my graduation cake on the sets of Mantri ji, which was the Indian version of Yes Minister. And the first experience was a set with Farooq Sheikh as the actor, Jayant Kripalani, beautiful man as well. And and it was a BBC production. So there was a certain discipline and class. And that was your first exposure to set. And I feel like that sort of triggered something behind saying, okay, I kind of like this. I don't know what this is, but I like being on the set, and I like creation like this. And I like putting together things. So I was there in NDTV for 3.5 years, and a beautiful year and a half making these two shows, Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister, in Hindi. And then got on to anchoring. They felt I should start the training to be an anchor, and so I started with the weather news. And I mean everybody around me was very excited because I was on TV, but I was like, this is the most boring thing. I mean, make up and then just keep saying the same thing the whole day. Bulletin 1, bulletin 2, bulletin 3. I said, this is too much. I don't think I can do this, really. By then they were training me to become a primetime anchor. And I said, oh my God, before I get super caught, I need to get out, really. So I did a bit of Night Out. It had launched. So I was the studio anchor at that time. And so that was exciting, actually. And, NDTV also during my year from Star News became NDTV, and NDTV 24/7 and NDTV India. So saw that transition, which was very exciting. And actually, one thing now I'm talking to you, I'm thinking one big thing that happened while I was there was 9/11. I was in the newsroom. I still remember it was my night shift, and early morning I was in the PCR, and the Twin Towers got and I remember being in the newsroom giving that news out. And I think that was one of the biggest highlights of being in NDTV, where you were part of the biggest news of,
Do you comprehend what was happening when you saw the towers come crashing down? Did you? I know that it happened on another channel. Someone said this is an action replay when the first tower went down and the other tower went down. Another anchor actually said that's an action replay.
Yeah, and I think
what was happening. Yeah,
it was crazy because I remember it was a night shift for us because it was morning in the US.
Yes, it was morning in the US.
And so we're just counting down. The day has to come to an end. It was a late night shift. We were like, let's go home. And suddenly on Reuters, on the top you have international feed coming in, and suddenly we all looked up and we saw that it switched to something major that's happened, and then it was surreal. Let me tell you, I think 48 hours of that. Of course, I was junior in that sense, but there was seniors. I remember it being mayhem. And the excitement of breaking news, because this is true breaking news. It was a mix of tragedy and breaking news and excitement and not sleeping and being the first one to break the news. It was many things, actually.
Yeah, I know I mean, for people who are not in the newsroom, it's a bit difficult to describe the atmosphere. While it is something very tragic that's also, unfolding at the same time, it's pretty exciting to be doing that, to be putting that news out. So
you've been in one, so you know what it is. Yeah, it's like a mix of your brain is.
Yeah,
it's just needing to say I need to get the job done.
Yeah. So incidentally, I haven't shared it with too many people, but I was also offered a job at NDTV many moons ago.
Chose not to take it up.
I chose not to take it up because NDTV was giving me a job as a production assistant, and Z was giving me a job as a reporter. And I had studied journalism, and मैंने पत्रकारिता की है, मुझे पत्रकारिता करनी है, kind of, all that. And so I often look back and, we might have been colleagues there.
We could have been, yes.
But while you were at NDTV, your newsroom, NDTV newsroom in those days had Barkha and Arnab and Rajdeep. And
oh my God, yeah. I mean, you don't realize the power these people have, I mean, you grew up watching The World This Week. So Dr. Roy was, of course, everybody's hero. But these were all young, for any young Indian who was aspiring to be in the media or journalism or whatever, I think to have Barkha, Srinivasan, Jain, Rajdeep, Arnab, all these faces that we see today were all sitting in that one room deciding what news will go out. And I think I used to be in awe because I was like, this is real incredible stuff. Just to be around them in news.
Yeah, but I think it was Farooq Sheikh who really had a profound impact. So thinking, this is what I don't want to be in news. I don't want to be doing this. You moved to Mumbai without a job. That's a bold, risky decision.
Yes, that's true. I think Farooq ji, I mean, Farooq sir was just incredible, to be honest, Gayatri. What a man. I mean, I think we've lost him too early. Gentleman and command over his language, craft, tehzeeb, as you would say, he was giving and he was just wonderful. I mean, I couldn't believe that somebody from this is real, this is normal. I didn't know, and I was lucky because he was like a mentor. Every time I'd go and ask him, what do you think I should do, and he'd always be patient to give information, share things. Was you felt he was safe, if you know what I mean. And I think as women we're constantly sussing out safe spaces, and he felt safe. And yes, I think I just told my dad, give me 4 weeks, because I had kind of realized I don't want to be in Delhi, Gayatri. I felt like that's not going to be the city of my. I don't want to work there. It's a city where I was born. I had my education. My parents live there. My family lives there, but it's not where I will live. I think that I was very clear about. And so
just 4 weeks you asked for.
My bua lives there, and so I didn't think that I should just go plonk myself. I thought, chalo, 4 weeks mein to I'll manage something. Well, let me leave. At least he'll just be like, okay, 1 month go. And then as the 4 weeks were getting closer and I mean coming to an end, I didn't crack any jobs. And again, those were the times, 2004, honestly, where you're just cold emails again. You're going to offices. I didn't know anybody, to be honest. I have nobody who's a part of this line. I mean, at that time, and still don't have, to be honest. So it was really a cold move, to be honest. And I was staying with my aunt who is from Bombay, and she was in advertising. So somewhere along the way, she understood me and she said, no, you will not go back. You keep at it, because she was working and she was in advertising. So she knew what the city can give you, and you're not to give up. And so I'm ending the 4 weeks, and fortunately, suddenly there were 5 offers from nothing in the first 3 weeks. And I'm counting down. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'll have to pack my bags and head home, and I don't want to go to Delhi. But yeah, luckily, opportunities came around. I got them, and I chose MTV because I somewhere felt that I'm not watching any other kind of television. So there's no point in doing a Sony or the regular general entertainment. MTV felt like I am MTV, I'm cool. That's what I watch. And that's where I want to work. And I was very, very fortunate to work there for 5 years, the best 5 years. Most incredible set of people. Really, really had a great time, honestly.
And then after that, you reached Phantom Films.
No, the most interesting thing happened is 2009, the big global recession, and about 40 of us were given the pink slip. I was included in that. And so one fine day, we are all called. And I was feeling there's something off after about 5 years of being there, but didn't expect to be given the pink slip, honestly. And so called in, HR meets you and says, thank you very much for spending these years with us. This is your severance check. Goodbye. Your email is shutting down. Pick up your bags and leave. And honestly, I thought I was in a dream, a nightmare, because you feel like that is something that can't happen to you. Why is that other person staying, and why am I going? You feel all those kind of emotions. And I was devastated that day. I thought my world crashed with because that my whole life in Bombay was MTV. My friends were MTV. My identity, I felt, was MTV. 5 years. I still had years to give the place. I was having a great time, and they didn't even give me any kind. That's it. You are now not required, and so it's a goodbye. I think it really hit me. I cried a lot that night. I wept the whole night. But when I woke up in the morning, there was a world of possibility, a new canvas to be painted, because fortunately there was enough money with what I'd got from there as a severance check. And I could now look at films, because in films I would have to start from, let's not say a senior position, because I already had about 9.5 years of television experience between NDTV and MTV, but nothing in film. So it would mean I would have to start at a lower spot again, which means less money. But I said, I'll take the chance, because that's why I'd come to Bombay, be on a film set. And so, yeah, let me keep this in my bank account and kickstart my film journey. And it's interesting because the 2 projects that in 2009 that I picked up did not happen because of recession. So I was in Chennai for 3 months. Just before we're going into filming, pull the plug. Disney says, I have no money, we can't make this film. So I'm back so that's the second thing that happens in the year. I'm in Bombay, I pick up another project. 3 months into that project, we're about to leave for Turkey and France. Viacom says, no money, no project. So that year for me was a true test of whether I'm going to stick around in Bombay, whether I'd stick around in films, or do I go back to television, because there I'd get back on the position and the money, whatever. So the first film really was 2010, and that was Mausam. And so Phantom really happened only in 2012 with Queen.
Yeah. And with Phantom, you were the line producer of Queen.
Yes, I was. I was. And I think that was such an incredible journey, Gayatri, because I think the film just kept getting made. Interestingly, it hadn't been greenlit one day before we left for shoot. But we said, wow, we're still going to make it. Yeah, there was no money. And a small team said, okay, you know what? We're still going to go and make this. And it got... And I think the intent was so beautiful. The intent was there to have fun while we make it. There was honesty in what we were trying to say. All of us together believed in telling the story of empowerment of this beautiful little girl from Rajouri Garden that every single woman, whether overseas or India, would relate to. and which is essentially why the film became what it became, because everybody could identify with this caged person who finds, and her empowering moment in the end is nothing major, but all she says is thank you. She just says thank you, and it's as simple as that. That I'm not going with you, and I think it's such a beautiful film, and I'm just so happy and proud to have been a part of it, really.
So did you actually shoot in 145 locations in 40 days with Kangana changing her clothes?
Yeah, my God. It was, it was, I mean, you've seen the film, right? I mean, you're constantly on the road, you're on the streets of Paris and Amsterdam, and where's the time to like set up bases, and you're constantly moving. And she was wonderful. She was changing in cafes. We would have lunch in different cafes. The excitement was tomorrow, which cafe are we going to eat in? Let's shoot around that cafe. A great crew. I mean, everybody was having a great time telling the story and moving from one spot to another, lugging all our, costume and equipment. But yeah, all that did happen.
And so I have to ask you this. So is Kangana like Rani Mehra in real life? Is she a simple middle class girl who's been wronged? Is she a spitfire?
She's really sharp. And I knew her. I mean, I'm in touch with her, wish her, and she always responds. She's wonderful towards me, to be honest. And but I mean, when we knew her, that was 2012. Yeah, that was a really long time ago, and she's become queen after that, right? She was Rani then, and now she's queen post that. All that success, and deservedly so, to be honest. But very, very talented, very sharp. People are people. Yeah, it's how you perceive them. Anybody can seem weird, anybody can seem great, depending on how you deal with them, to be honest. I could seem weird to people.
It's all about perception.
It's all about perception.
Yeah. And what about Lisa Hayden? I mean, Lisa Hayden, and
I love that woman.
She was incredible.
She was, and she still is, and she was so charming and beautiful. I cannot tell you. Like, she's a supermodel, Gayatri, and her first role really as such. And she just went along. She just swayed. She flowed, and that's why Vijay Lakshmi is such a beautiful character. And you love her playing it. Very, very giving. Very, very secure as a person, right? So she was, and she stood her ground. She worked hard in speaking Hindi, speaking French. And I think great
casting with her. Tanvi should plan something with her.
I know, she's a mother of 3 boys now, I think.
Yeah.
Beautiful girl, still in touch with me, and she's wonderful, honestly. Yeah. And great casting. I think what we did.
Great casting, yeah. With Rajkumar Rao too.
Yeah, absolutely.
All he played that role so well. I mean,
really.
You just ended up hating him.
Exactly.
Which is the whole intent.
And also, casting is such an important part of filming, right? Getting the film right is getting the casting right.
Okay. So, as a line producer, what were your responsibilities? Because many of us are not, people are not aware of what a creative producer does, what a line producer does, what an executive producer does.
So, okay, so basically, let's say a line producer is somebody reporting into an executive producer. A line producer is a person, is like, handling line production when you're in a production line, in the sense you're the person who is making the budget and ensuring on ground everything as per requirement is called for, and you achieve the day as per what is required on paper. The person is, so it's a very tedious job, to be honest with you. It's very, very, because every single line item in a budget, which is under costume, under makeup, under equipment, under sound, under camera, under food, under transport, under every single thing, is reporting into a line producer. So and the line producer then is reporting into an executive producer, who's also then handling the money and certain larger decisions. So I think that is essentially handling on ground production, and the main people, because you're pretty much like the backbone you're holding it completely, because every single person is reporting into you, and everybody has to stay within the budget that you make, and submit way before you even film or even go on a recce, to be honest with you, you know. So it's a hugely responsible job, because nobody else will be standing there when you go over budget but yourself. So it's pretty much managing the day and monies and people and teams and every single day.
And what about a creative producer?
A creative producer is somebody who is not the on-ground producer, is potentially somebody who sees a potential in a project and then would creatively work on it, whether it's fine-tuning the script or working on casting, dialogues, just looking at it from a creative perspective, but would not be the person on ground handling on-ground production, essentially. Yeah.
So you obviously did a very good job with Queen, because soon after you became executive producer.
Yes, I don't know whether I did a good job or not, but that ended up being the next step. Yes, and then I was an EP on multiple films actually, and with it comes an other set of responsibilities as well, because now you're delivering a budget, and monitoring it, and wherever you sort of feel that this is where it's going up, how do I make sure that I bring it down in some other department, because overall numbers are not going to increase. Once the studio says you're going to get 100 to make this, they're not going to give 110, even if you feel like during the filming it's going up. So you have to manage whether cutting down days, cutting down requirements, tweaking creatives, reducing production. I don't know, you know, you have to figure that out creatively, which is why it's also important for EPs and all to be creative, because you have to offer creative solutions to the director, where the vision doesn't get compromised, but we still deliver it within a pool of money that has been allotted and cannot change.
It must not have been easy being an executive producer on Bombay Velvet, because that was, I mean, the set, the grandeur.
Oh. It was mammoth. I think never done before. Yeah. One of the biggest films that got made then. Yeah. We also made the
2015.
Film.
Yeah.
Actually, it was shot in 2013, really, released in 15. It was almost a year-long project between construction of sets and multiple visits. And it was in Sri Lanka. So I pretty much lived in Lanka that year. And that's the fun part of my job as well. If traveling is something that people enjoy, that I love it. So I'm usually out on long spells, you know, easily 4 to 5 months a year, I could be out between prep and shoot. So that was a very different experience, because it was a different country. You were there for a longer period of time. There was set construction. It was period also in terms of, it was meant to be 40s.
But you did manage to get that look so right. I mean, the movie won many technical awards. It was very
stylized. Music was wonderful. Costume, art, all of it. All those beautiful. Visually, I think it looked fantastic. All credit would go to the creative team and the director, and you know, our job is behind the scenes. We're the ones holding it all together while they're in front, and their work is visible in front, while our work is never going to be visible, but it's all behind. But yeah, I'm happy that at least that was appreciated, because otherwise the film didn't do too well.
Commercially, it didn't do well, and there
were faults. There were issues. Yeah.
As a producer, if you see something going wrong, can you, as an executive producer, call it out then and there, can do some course correction, or is that the director's prerogative? We are just trying to understand what happens.
Yes. So there are, between. As an EP, you could potentially mention the fact that here I'm feeling that it's going up budget point of view, because that's under my purview, to be honest. But if you also are close enough, or the equation sort of works this way, you can bring it up with your producer saying, I don't know what's going on. But it's a larger thing between the director and producer, to be honest, because sometimes you're rolling with stuff and you may get a feeling that don't know what's going on, but then you also go with it's always on instinct and gut, and it's such a feeling of let's see what happens, let's make it, you know. That's how you approach all films. You never know which film will do great, to be honest. All sets are the same, the intent behind is also the same. But yes, during the making of some films you can make out that this might not go very well.
Is that the feeling you got while you were the executive producer on Mardani 2 with Rani Mukerji?
Honestly, with Mardani 2, I knew we were making a good enough film. I knew that people will come out feeling satisfied, if not ecstatic. But I'm very happy because it did well commercially and critically. People came out feeling like it did its bit, whatever. There were comparisons with Mardani 1, but I knew while we were making it that nobody's going to come out disappointed. And she was quite wonderful, to be honest. I had heard of stories of many stories where you felt like, I don't know how she's going to react to me, or I don't know how I will be with her. But she was quite wonderful. Very, very talented, of course, no doubt, and very in command of her craft completely.
Tell us something about her that we know if the world doesn't know. Something.
The world knows pretty much. She's very, very, she loves her daughter, very, very possessive of her child. And which I guess everybody is, but she is. And very simple. Found her to be very simple as a, and very short. I felt that she's like she's my height, so I feel happy. Okay, this is not bad. Yeah.
Yes. Will not probe it any further, Tanvi. It's your lucky day.
Later, I'll tell you.
Yeah. And then there was also that other really big film which
didn't do well.
So how do you pick up yourselves? I'm talking of Shandar with Shahid Kapoor and Alia Bhatt and gorgeous music and a gorgeous look. So again, it didn't do well. So how do you, pull yourself from, as an EP, you must feel gutted. How do you pull yourself, up after a project that's completely wrong? I'm sure it's not easy.
The thing with films, honestly, Gayatri, is one thing I realized over time. The film crew goes through very extreme emotions in a different rhythm from the rest of the world. Right, our timings are different. What we're experiencing is different. Our demands of the day are. It's a unit that works independently of the rhythm of life. You are very attached to that set of people. So the minute the last day of shoot happens, and you're told, that's it, cut. Next day, it's a shoot wrap, it's a film wrap party, all of it. Next day, you could all be on different projects with different crews. And so this level of attachment over time, we need to handle. You need to know how to handle it. Because there are, in initial years, you can really feel very, very depressed. And I don't want to use the word depressed very loosely, but you do feel very low. Spent a considerable amount of time with a crew, with certain people, and then really they're going their own way next day, and you have to go on and get on with your life. I realized that the only way to stay sane is to not be attached, and hence not be attached to what happens to a film either. The process and journey has to be fun. The result, you never know ever. You'll never know. So if I want to just have fun every day, enjoy myself with the people, surround myself with my type of people, because in that crew of 100 people, you'll only connect with 2 or 3, literally. But you have to deal with all 100 every day and handle that energy. And, as a producer, be the central point, and food problem, bed problem, accommodation problem, transport problem, money, everything is your problem, that you're like, Shanti, stay in a zen mode. So you eventually are like, okay, so you're obviously depressed. I mean, you're really upset when the film doesn't do well. Yeah. But the next one would, so you're okay.
Pull yourself together. And
yeah, but I'm happy because of Urta Punjab. That was one of my, just the way Queen, I think Urta Punjab has been a beautiful experience, and I'm proud of that one very much. Yeah. During the making also, we could figure out that this will be something important and good.
Yeah. And again, a very, contentious issue
Yeah, and we knew that it would get into a controversy, but we still wanted to make it, needed to be told.
Yeah.
It was an important thing, and it came out. It won and it came out, and everybody enjoyed. Performances also. Alia was so brilliant.
I know. So I'll take an audience question here.
Yes.
Before our interview began, I got a question from Sunita Bhargav, who said, if there's this one movie you wish you had produced.
What a wonderful question. It's because it's one of my most favorite films. It's very old, but I wish I was on the sets of Masoom and I was on that. I could have called it my film.
Yeah,
I love that film. I truly do.
It made me cry too.
Yeah. I mean, every bit of that film, every scene, I feel it would have been my highlight.
Thank you. Okay, I recently heard Manoj Vajpayee. He was asked this question: "Mumbai ka Raja kaun?" And he replied, "OTT." What are your? Do you share a similar view that the OTT has come and just changed the dynamics of the game?
Truly, because I think the one thing that's staring in front of us pretty evidently now is that content is everything. We always used to say that content is king, script is everything, but today, yes, writing is, content is. It has repositioned the mega stardom, to be honest with you. I think India is always going to stay a country and nation that there's too much adulation towards our stars, which I feel is a little unfair. I wish there was a little more balance in it, but it is the way it is because of the way we're built as a society,
Film stars, sports stars.
Yeah, I think there's, and especially film stars, right? Yeah. There is, there are temples around them, and I feel it's just, are you kidding me? But you also understand where it's coming from at some stage, at some level, because of the disparity in our society and the aspirational value that this brings. But OTT today has at least made a certain, has leveled a certain way of looking at things, and even for actors, and to say, you know what, we could still have great stories, great production value, but let me get closer to the audience by now having them watch us even on our phones. It doesn't need to be a theatrical. So there's a mind shift that has happened, which I think is incredible. Let's see how long it lasts. I think it will.
That's exactly what he was saying too, that everything, OTT has made things very democratic, and and he says he goes to bed anxious every night thinking, is this going to last?
Yeah, that's
what happens when everything opens up.
But I've been speaking to people, and they are going to choose what they spend their money on now.
Absolutely.
I think everybody now is starting to think of, where will that money go? Is it worth the cinematic experience? But that's the thing. Cinema will always exist, but what will probably happen, and I think is happening, is the big stuff will come there, which cannot be, which is unparalleled to any other experience. You will want to see it on the big screen.
As a consumer, I'll tell you, OTT has really, really enjoying the experience of watching, maybe world television.
Exactly.
At home. But when cinemas open up, and I think maybe, if the price of the food is a bit more reasonable at the cinema halls, but attraction, I would like to go, and that whole shared experience of a cinema.
Exactly. We've grown, it's traditional, it's conventional, it's classic, it's never going to go away, Yeah. But what gets made for cinema will change, I feel.
Yeah. And for the better, we hope.
For the better, and I think somewhere the whole industry right now is trying to figure out what is it to potentially make the big stuff, or the medium stuff, or the small stuff. Does it go directly to OTT? Does it go to, I think there's a bit of that mathematics and economics is still trying to be figured out, honestly.
Okay, so changing tracks here, Tanvi. You've been living in Mumbai by yourself for nearly 15 years now. So yes. Any advice to young girls wanting to pursue a career in films? What are the do's and don'ts?
First of all, I feel any and everybody should be chasing their dreams. I think that's very, very important. And to be able to chase your dreams, you need to be able to communicate and convince your parents, irrespective whether they agree with you or not. You need to voice them and tell them that that's what I want to do, and at least attempt to try and live them. If your dream is to be in Bombay, is to be a part of the film industry, media, entertainment, then you have to go to. I mean, you have to be in Bombay. This experience has to be felt. It's going to be tough. It is very competitive. Some way it can be toxic as well, but you've got to come prepared. Any big city is like that. You go to New York, you'll feel the same way. Any city that's driven by main purpose of work is going to be like that. There are more people and less jobs, so you're going to have to figure out a way of how to stay relevant. So don't come, I feel people should not come with false hopes. It's hard work for everybody. Every single person that is here is working very, very hard, and is also dealing emotionally by not having their families. So there's an added layer of that. So come prepared, knowing that it's not going to be easy. But if you come with that mindset, you're going to have a lot of fun, because it's such a inclusive, cosmopolitan, it's my favorite place in India. So it's great fun. If you come here knowing what the shortcomings are. And in the industry, I feel very, very open now to young blood coming in, a lot of women in positions of decision making and power. And when I say power, I feel it's, you should be able to make a choice. That's what's power. So I feel there are people sitting there in positions. So women and young girls should definitely be coming here. It's safer now. Things are in place in different companies, HR departments. Due to things that have happened in the past, things are in a slightly more formalized space. But you've got to keep your head on your shoulder, and also come thick-skinned. That's important.
Yeah, we'll take some audience comments more than questions. Vijay says that bit about chasing your dream, that's the key. Urvashi Ashta said, wonderfully warm session. Nina Bagga loved it, but need to leave. Tanvi, one last question.
Right.
What is life as a single woman in Mumbai in terms of, was it difficult finding a house? Is security an issue? Did you feel confident taking in the pre-pandemic days, taking a train at night? Is it safe to do that?
Coming from a city that's outside of Bombay, I think one doesn't realize what you take for granted.
In Mumbai.
Yes, absolutely. I think because I was so passionately clear that this is my city of my own livelihood and life, I liked everything about it. If I did not, I would have been miserable. So I think that was the best part, that I chose to like the potholes, the waterlogged roads, the small homes. But there's so much beauty, right? There's your wife who's like your matron, who will make sure she's watching over you, who will have the key to your house. Even if you're away, she'll take care of everything. They're so inspiring. I mean, I used to just look at these lovely ladies that come and take care of all our homes.
Yeah.
Our moving from one home to the other. So that plus, of course, I've been fortunate because I didn't really need to shift my house. But yeah, I mean, the real picture also is that you have to constantly prove yourself to be a woman. You have to somewhere along the way convince them that you know your job, you know why you're here, your head is on your shoulder, this is what you do, you're going to come late, you're going to come, you're going to leave. All of that is still an ongoing thing that you still have to do, but it is a part of what you have to do.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have time for one last question? There's something on Vijay. Can we take one last question, Tanvi?
Yeah, please.
It's in the comment. Important to hear you comment on young men trying to make it in the industry also. Are the women taking away opportunities?
Oh, wow. I don't think women can ever take away opportunities. Men have a huge sense of entitlement across, to be honest. Uh, but I think for anything to thrive, personally, for me, and there's a deep personal belief, we have to have balance. Anything that's skewed too much towards women also is not a great place to work. It's not the right way to approach things. So you have to be good at your job. That's the main thing. You need to have a great intent and integrity. If you're able to convince that to your senior, female or male, anybody will get the job. Um, but but yeah, I think you need to show that integrity. That's the main thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
On that note, Tanvi, thank you so much for being
Thank you.
a guest today on Gupshup with Gayatri. Thank you for your brutal honesty, or sharing your thoughts. Yeah, what
so
goes into
much.
making of a film, what it takes to survive in Mumbai.
Yes.
Here's wishing you the very best, not just with Priya. We look forward to seeing much more about our female animated superhero.
Thank you. Yes.
And maybe a mainstream Bollywood film next.
You have to think global.
Absolutely, absolutely. So looking forward to that international project of yours.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for joining in.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, and have a great Sunday and happy Independence Day.
Happy Independence Day to everyone. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for joining in, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.